Welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Football Live. Remember, we're on 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern. We're off on Wednesdays and Thursdays during the regular season. Now, you won't want to miss the Sunday show. It's the start, sit, stream that you get your why, not just the what, so you can make your best lineup decision. But none of that stuff. Oh, start A or start B. Nope. You're going to give yourself ammunition so you have your best decision. If you have Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Channel, tune in today, Saturday, 1 to 3. I'll be on with Jeff Erickson on the RotoWire show. Sunday, big morning show with Alan Soslowski, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. If you wake up later than that and you have the Sirius XM app, rewind it and catch us then. I am so excited. Hey, Alex, good morning. We have John Ryan in the house every Saturday this season. You guys are going to get gambling gold here. John is with RotoWire and the Predictive Playbook Sports Channel. John's going to tell you later how you can be a part of that. Does RotoWire college football, RotoWire NFL. John has almost 3 decades of professional gambling experience. So it's experience, it's knowledge, it's trends. John has everything you need to be a successful gambler. Last 4 years, his 10-unit best bets, 68%, 52.5%, I believe, beats the house. John is beating the house. Sauger, good morning. John, also, when you take the NFL and the NCAA football combined, last 3 years, 65%. Unbelievable. John Ryan, tell everybody what's going on.
Well, I appreciate the introduction, Jim. It's great to be on this show. It's definitely my favorite show of the week, and you are the go-to guy for DFS and helping me make money in my DraftKings lineup every single week in the NFL season. So believe me, folks, when I say it, I've been in this almost 30 years now, and Jim is the best at DFS. So make it a point to get on him and listen to his advice. And I'm sure you're going to like doing that quite a bit as much as I do.
Thank you, John. Now, John, we were going to get into some games here. We'll do some games, some DFS, back and forth. We're going to give people what they want here. So first thing we have here is 49ers versus Rams in this game. So last week, the 49ers come out on the road at Pittsburgh, hostile environment. They smoke them. That was a great outing, John. And now the Rams, we thought they were completely overmatched playing Seattle on the road. The Rams smoked the Seahawks. But, John, I want you to talk about the gambling angle that you see that's the most profitable for 49ers Rams.
Well, first and foremost, Jim, the 49ers defense and the New York Jets defense are by far the two best defenses right now as I see it. And I don't think that's going to change one iota the rest of the year. Last year, the 49ers defense was excellent in its own right, too. And now they're taking on the Rams, as you said, outperformed in week 1, getting a straight-up win. That gets that team that has low expectations from its fan base in the right direction. This is a divisional showdown as well. And even though it's week 2, as you know, Jim, these divisional wins are monumentally important when they get into week 12, 13, 14 as tiebreakers. So this is a significant game for both teams to try and win. I think the 49ers defense that held the Steeler offense and is one of the teams that is coached by one of the best coaches of all time, in my opinion, in Mike Tomlin. They had the Steelers 0 first downs, 1 total yard of offense with a minute 30 to go in the half. That is really it's just mind-blowing to even think that and just say it out loud and know it's true. Now, I think in this matchup, of course, the Rams are going to gain some yards in the first half. But I think this is going to be one of those close to the vest type of strategies. A lot of the action done between the 20s, both teams looking not to make mistakes. And then we get to the analytics. Betting the under with a price between 39.5 and 44.5 points, which by today's standards is a low total. One of the teams involved in the matchup was an elite offensive team gaining at least 5.85 or more yards per play last season. Of course, that was the 49ers. Game is a divisional matchup, and that elite offense is coming off a road win that played under. So even though the 49ers blew the Steelers out, it played under. That set of parameters has the 49ers 36-8 straight up, 26-14-4 to the under. 65%, and those winning bets covered by an average of 5.5 points per game, which is almost a touchdown right there. So I think betting the under here, currently priced at 44.5 points, is a great bet to make. And 75% of the tickets, Jim, right now, as I saw it this morning, are on the over. So this is a bit of
Wow.
irrational exuberance, if you will. And that feeds into the under bet as well.
You know, when you look at this game, and John will always give you the best trends out there. If you're not listening to John, you're making a mistake, because John, for almost 30 years, has been doing this. When he gives you a trend, he's not pulling the stuff out of thin air. He has models that he's used and built and perfected over time. So he gives you an edge. John's right. The public is going over. What did they see last week? They saw the Rams offense put up a lot of points. Ooh, Matthew Stafford's back. Cooper Kupp, who? He didn't play. Well, look, Sean McVay out-coached Seattle horribly. Puka Nacua has his 100-yard game. How did he do it? Sean McVay realized through scheme, he got him isolated on Bobby Wagner, a run-defending linebacker who can't run with receivers. Puka had like 6 of his catches on Wagner, and they had no answer, no way to change that, and they just kept scheming it. It was easy pitch and catch. Now, that said, Matthew Stafford has not done well against the 49ers. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan know each other like the back of their hand. But the problem that John's kind of pointing out, how are the Rams going to score many points here? Because they don't have talent. They usually have talent across the board. And so they know each other, but they can win between creation and talent. But now Shanahan knows what McVay wants to do. He doesn't have the horses to back it up. If he's trying Puka Nacua this week on a linebacker, that's Fred Warner. That ain't working. So that's a little bit of a side on that. John, do you see the Rams struggling to score some points in this one?
I definitely do. I would actually lean team total under in the Rams side of the equation too. I wouldn't touch the 49ers because that offense is capable of putting up points that would exceed the total. And the game still plays under 2 weeks in a row, where the 49ers would play over the team total and the game goes under. That's more of how I see it going.
Love that. Now, I'll give you some DFS plays, and then John's got another pick for you. You won't want to miss that. So DFS. So this week, we're going to go back to the well with Justin Herbert. Now, $7,000 at Tennessee. What happened last week, and I missed this, I thought Vic Fangio's defense would take time to gel. It's a heavy communication-based defense. They play a lot of zone where they drop 4 to 6 players, usually up to 6, and they just kind of make a wall, but they have to pass players off. Usually, that takes time. I thought communication breakdowns would happen. Well, what happened in that game was that Fangio set the defense to take everything deep away. And for once, I give the Chargers credit for throwing short, because that's what they were being given. And they were being given the run game. They ran for 200 yards. 200 yards, Josh Kelly and Austin Eckler. So that said, it was one of those game plans that didn't work out. Tennessee has no alternative game plan. They stop the run very, very well. They can't defend the pass at all. And now Christian Fulton, now he's one of their 3 top corners, but still he's in the mix with that. And they're without one of their safeties, Amani Hooker. That is going to give more potential for this diversified passing. This is the week that Kellen Moore's coming out party happens. They're throwing this week. They are going to test downfield. Justin Herbert's going to cash. Jared Goff, 6,200 against Seattle. Jared Goff is a completely different quarterback at home. He had 28 or 29 touchdowns last year. I want to say it was 29. 6 on the road. Almost all of his touchdowns came at home. They score more points at home. They throw better at home. The scheming is brilliant. And where do you attack Seattle? Well, what did Sean McVay do? Middle of the field. Hey, what did the Lions do well? Amon-Ra St. Brown, middle of the field. Sam Laporta, middle of the field. They probably get Jahmyr Gibbs involved this week, middle of the field. Jared Goff. Last one. Check the injury report if you're doing this. He popped up on the injury report yesterday, but if you want to save money, last week I gave you this money saver, Baker Mayfield, and he got you. He got you easily to that finish line. This week, don't gag, CJ Stroud, 5,200 in Indianapolis. Check his injury status. If you're betting this, don't put him in the lineup until Sunday. Here's the deal. We said this last week. Indianapolis can stuff the run all day long. Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, but they can't defend the pass. And they don't have corners. Basically, last year, Stephon Gilmore gone, Isaiah Rodgers gone. They're going to be in a bad way this year. Well, C.J. Stroud showed last week. he could get the ball to his outside receivers. He could get to Nico Collins. He can get it to Robert Woods. And being they're going to have to throw. And I know the Houston offensive line is very beat up. It wasn't a problem last week. And Indy doesn't get an outside pass rush. Kwity Paye's okay, but not dominant. Those are your three quarterbacks. Going to quickly give you some running back shots. You only have 2 plays for us today, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I'll do the running backs now, then we'll get your next game. Running backs. Christian McCaffrey, 8,900 against the Rams. Don't overthink this one. The 49ers, like Johnson, are going to score some points here. They don't have to go crazy through the pass game. Aaron Donald and a bunch of nobody else. They'll run away from Donald, but McCaffrey, they'll have no answer for him. He's priced up at 8,900. Pay. This is a pay up for running backs week. I didn't do that last week. This week we are. Saquon Barkley, 8,000 at Arizona. The Giants are going to get right after a 40-0 shellacking. Arizona looked good against Washington, but here's the thing. The Giants can't take them lightly. They lost in embarrassing fashion. They're going to have to play this week. They can't look past them. They won't. Barkley's great. Derrick Henry, 7,400 against the Chargers. Now, be careful. He only had 48% of the snaps last week. I don't know why that was, but my guess is they're playing the Chargers. The Chargers were one of the worst teams in the world against the run last year. They might be a tick better, but after Ryan Tannehill threw all those interceptions, they've got to go back to the ground, and I don't think the Chargers have an answer. James Cook, 6,100 against the Raiders. James Cook played an immensely talented Jets defense, and he was okay. He was fine against them. He gets an easy matchup this week, and we see he was playing, on top of my head, around 70% of the snaps. The other running backs, Damian Harris and Lat Murray, afterthoughts. Cook's the guy. Gus Edwards saved money, 5,300. I know Justice Hill got the 2 touchdowns this week. They're game planning this week. Justice Hill had 8 carries for 9 yards. He is not the deal. Gus Edwards has been 5 yards per carry throughout his career, 5,300 save money. Last one, cheap option. Zach Moss, 4,700. He's with the Colts. He broke his arm. He's back this week playing Houston. Now, with the mobile quarterback, they ran shotgun last week. They ran 3 receiver sets. It'll be some lighter boxes for Zach Moss. Zach Moss at 4,700 is a great value play. All right, John, I talked way too much here. We are going to get
Not
to
at all.
Thank you. We're going to go to another NFL gambling winner that John Ryan's going to give you. Now, John, we talked about the Jets earlier, briefly referenced them. Obviously, they lost Aaron Rodgers after 4 plays. Zach Wilson came in. They won the game, which was amazing. They're playing the Cowboys. The Cowboys obviously shut out the Giants in a rainstorm, a mauling, a Sunday night game. John, tell us what you like in the Jets-Cowboys game.
Well, it's been a polarizing debate on what the Jets should do, and it got so ridiculous that even names like Colin Kaepernick were popping up, and that guy hasn't thrown a pass since 2016. But in my strong opinion, and I don't make strong opinions too often, Jim, but I really think they have a golden opportunity to resurrect Zach Wilson's career with the offensive coordinator working together. They have Aaron Rodgers apparently tutoring him, mentoring him before the injury even took place. So after he gets, physically able to get to the stadium, get to the offices, I'm sure that he is going to work with Zach Wilson and say, you know what, look at this play in the video. This was a game like 5 years ago, and this is similar to what you're going to see this week. Here's how I did it, and here's the technique you need to consider when you see, a robber blitz coming at you from the left side. And that may sound simple, but I think coming out of Rodgers' mouth and the experience that he brings is going to be monumentally great for Zach Wilson. And in a weird sense, Jim, this could be a blessing in disguise for Jets fans and that Jets program. After all, this Jets defense is one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. And they got better in the offseason than they were last year. The Eagles and the Jets were basically tied in my rankings of defensive units last year. And now the Jets are even better. And they showed it against the Buffalo Bills. And I love the way that team fought on Monday night. They kept playing the game. They didn't give up because Rodgers was out. They just kept playing hard. And look what happened. And Wilson went at the beginning of the game, Jim. Do you think for a second Zach Wilson was thinking in his head that I better be prepared mentally to go in this game? He might have reminded himself, but I don't think he thought in a million years he was going to be thrust into the center stage on a Monday Night Football game in week 1. And I think he performed admirably well. 14 for 21 he went, what was it, a buck 47 in passing yards and one interception. Okay, so you turn that into a 9.5 point road dog with two defenses that are very, very good. But the Jets defense going up against a arguably very good offensive line, I think the Jets have a huge, huge advantage in the trenches when they're on defense. And I think, Zach Prescott hasn't showed me anything. Even though they won 40-0 last week, they had two defensive scores, and 13 for 25 at the quarterback position is not going to get it done in the NFL. Now, if he proves wrong and Prescott goes off for 400 yards and they win again 35-10, then I'll stand corrected. And we'll have to look at the models and see what has changed. But I really do believe if they work with Zach Wilson, who, by the way, was the second overall pick in the 2021 draft, and maybe, the coaching staffs before this one were just not good. Maybe they weren't teaching the game to him or supporting him when his confidence was shattered on the field. And I think this is a golden opportunity for a second chance, and I do hope he makes the most of it. So on
Go ahead. Sorry, John. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, in this game, I think the total is extraordinarily low, so I think there's an opportunity here to bet the over. And I also like the Jets. I hate parlays, Jim, as you know.
Yeah.
But if I was ever going to do one, it would be money line Jets and the over, and just pizza money. But the over is supported by the first 4 weeks of the regular season. You play over the total with any team, in this case, Dallas, coming off a blowout win of 24 or more points to a divisional rival. And like I said, in the first 4 weeks of the season, unbelievably so, it's gone 51-15 over since 1983. That's 75% winning bets on the over. So now we have that in hand. Furthermore, this system has not lost in 10 years. It's gone 12-0, perfect 12-0. So let's not get overconfident that this is an automatic winner, because there is no crystal balls here and there are no locks. If somebody tells you they have a lock, you should just run for the door and find somebody else to get advice from. But being that it's 12-0, Jim, I think you bet 75% pre-flop. Look for the game to go really slow in the first quarter. Both teams are going to want to keep it close, not make mistakes. And the Jets defense, I think, is going to dominate. So with that said, I think you're going to get an opportunity to get this total of about 34.5 in game during the first half. And at that point, you add the 25% remaining to complete your $100 bet or whatever it is that you bet per game. I like the over.
John, if somebody has a lock, ask them what the combination is. That's all we can say, right?
Yeah,
exactly. I'll put it on my locker. That'll work out very well. John's calling the Jets plus 9.5 over the Cowboys.
Yep.
John, from a tactical standpoint, you talked about the Jets defense, and Dallas, again, left guard Tyler Smith is doubtful. That's a big deal. Also, right guard, legendary right guard Zach Martin is questionable. So very likely less than 100%. Charlene's in the house. Welcome back. So as we look at that, that's also going to help the Jets. John, this is the least scientific thing, but it's something I just want to add. You have all the analysis, but what I want to add here is the Cowboys, it's going to be very hard to get mentally up for this game. No Aaron Rodgers, and it's human. It's a human nature thing. A lot of times when a team we think is better than another team, because obviously with Zach Wilson, the Cowboys are a better team. But if you don't get up for that game emotionally, and your coach could tell you all day long, they're dangerous. But there's a little switch in the back of your head, and you get comfortable. You think you've got the game before it starts. And that's, I think, a non-scientific reason of why so many times the underdog either wins the game or covers. Am I crazy saying that, John?
You're spot on 100%. I can remember when I played sports on the team level, this exact same thing would happen. The head coach would stand there and yell and throw the chalk at the blackboard and try to get us focused to think that, this is not going to be a game we're going to win 42-3. But it was like, all right, coach, we got this. We got this, coach. Just settle down. We're going to win. And all of a sudden the game starts and you're in a war.
Yes.
And I think that's what's going to happen here.
John, real quick off the subject, going what you said, I was in a basketball playoff game a number of years ago, and I was a role player, but I played a lot of minutes, and I was, a superstar, and the team was my friend, and we always worked together, and we would be in the weight room, and somebody who knew us told us, you guys are going to lose your playoff game, and we kind of looked at him like, huh? We were a big favorite, and he goes, you guys aren't going to be able to take them seriously. I go, we know they're dangerous. We lost. He was right. We knew in the back of our minds, we knew we were better. It didn't matter, but it's true. It happens. All right, let's go to some DFS. I'm going to give you some wide receivers, tight ends, and a couple of defenses, and then we'll get final words from John as well. Sauger, appreciate you as well, man. All right, wide receiver. I mentioned earlier about Seattle. You can attack them in the middle of the field. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $7,800. He's not going to see Tariq Woolen in the middle of the field. Wheels up on a big St. Brown. We talk about Jared Goff. So you're pairing Jared Goff with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Strong one. Now, T. Higgins is only 6,400. He goose-egged last week. He got 0-0-0. Joe Burrow only threw for 82 yards. Remember, they're playing the Ravens this week. Safety Marcus Williams is out. Cornerback, oh my God, Marlon Humphrey is out. They've got to deal with Jamar Chase. Higgins is going to be just fine this week. The Ravens don't have the horses right now. That the offensive line in Cincy is better than it was, and basically Baltimore doesn't have dominant pass rushers. They get it through scheme. It's going to be just fine this week. T. Higgins at 6,400. So I'm going back to the well on Mike Williams. You're going to pair him with Justin Herbert if you're going that route. He's only 5,700. I told you that last week. I mistakenly called that Fangio's defense did have the communication set. They took away everything deep. Tennessee does not have that luxury. They don't have the personnel to do that. Williams gets his week. DJ Moore, you'll hate this, 5,500 at Tampa. Look, even when he was with Carolina, his last 4 meetings with them with horrible quarterback play, he had strong performances in all of them. The Carlton Davis, one of their 2 top corners, is out. The Bears hopefully will get more in the middle of the field, and Tampa got eviscerated by Minnesota in the middle of the field. But even on the outside, DJ Moore is going to be fine. He wouldn't see Jamel Dean every snap anyway. He can beat Jamel Dean. Not worried here. Saving money. If you're going with CJ Stroud, if his shoulder checks out, remember, you make sure I'm sure he'll be active, but check first. If you want to pair up a player, Nico Collins, he had, the numbers are, he had double-digit targets. It may have been 11 or 12, but he was 80 yards. He looks like he is going to be a great fit for Stroud. 4,800. I said earlier with the Stroud part, Indy has no corners. They can't cover. Kadarius Toney, I know he can't catch the football. He's handing the ball to the other team. He's terrible. Kadarius Toney's 4,600. Andy Reid got good use out of him last year. He should be fully healthy now, 11 days off. Andy Reid's going to get the ball back in his hands because he needs him. He needs him to have a big game so they can use him later. Finally, you want to go with that Seattle and the Detroit game, like I said earlier, if you want a third player stack to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds is only 3,700. He is a primary outside receiver for them. He was a little bit last year. He has a history with Jared Goff. He had about 80 yards in the opener. He's going to get targets. Quickly, tight ends. Evan Ingram, 4,800 against the Chiefs. The Chiefs couldn't really stop him last year, but now with Calvin Ridley on the outside, it's more attention they got to spread out. Cole Kmet, 4,400 at Tampa Bay. Chase Claypool, the receiver, he's not, nothing's going on with him. He's terrible. The Bears have no presence physical in the middle of the field. That's going to be Kmet. He had 7 targets last week. That continues. Jake Ferguson, 3,300 against the Jets, save money. He may have been horrible last week. He led the Cowboys with 7 targets. Dak Prescott always feeds his tight end. Super cheap, 3,100. Logan Thomas against Denver, 8 targets last week, 4 catches. He's back. He's their number 1. Real quick on the defenses. Charlene, look at, Prime with Colorado. Yes. Defense. Cowboys. I know John is totally right about the Jets covering here. If you want to spend up, if you're a believer in the Cowboys creating havoc, but they could look past them. So I'd be a little nervous, but if you're of the mindset that you think Dallas comes in defensively, you can lay to 4,000. But I think based on John's bet, maybe we just say, you know what? Let's go 3,100 and let's take the Commanders at Denver. Because Russell Wilson, they got him dinking and dunking. You know his coach doesn't trust him. That pass rush is real. The offensive line in Denver is not as good as it was. The Commanders are going to make some hay here. John, either and or final thoughts, Tell people where they can find you and your work. Close it out.
Well, I got to admit, Sean Payton last week with the first play of the season being an onside kick. I mean, that was all ego. And I do think the Commanders are a team now that they changed the owner, the culture is changing, and they're a team that's going to get better and better throughout the season. So that's a situation where I love that defense matchup against the Broncos this week. That's excellent. And as you saw, every time he said a player, you saw me going like this. Well, I wasn't looking down at the floor. I was writing it down. And, it helps monumentally, folks, to take his advice and put it into your lineups. And I guess lastly, I've done pretty well with these 10-unit max bets. Again, they lose 32% of the time, folks. That's the facts. They win 68, but you also got to realize that they lose 32% of the time. But I have one in college football that I honestly do love quite a bit. It's a dog that I think is going to win outright. And if you want to get it, just send me a note, direct message at John Ryan Sports, and the number 1 on Twitter, or johnryansports@gmail.com, and I'll give it to you free. Take a test drive of the analytics, see for yourself. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you don't. If you're a numbers person, I promise you will love it. So that's my take for this week, Jim, and looking forward to an awesome DraftKings profit on Sunday.
Yes, John Ryan giving you the winners. And again, remember, John Ryan Sports 1. Hit him up for that pick because John's going to get you a winner. He said it's a dog that probably has a great chance of winning outright. You love those. John, I'd love to thank you for coming in with me today. Every Saturday this year, you'll be here. Tomorrow, Sunday, the Start Sit live stream. Please join me for that. I'll give you the why along with the what, give you a lot of player analysis, not just going to tell you who to start. Charlene says, go Texas Longhorns. I love it. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great day, and I will see you on Sunday.